Oh, hey, this is Jeff here at Welch Family Homestead, and this is a river birch. Beautiful tree. Just breaking off some old dead limbs here at the bottom. And I have to get the saw here for a few of them. But what a beautiful tree. It has some of the flakiest bark, and sits here on my lake. But the part that you may not realize about this is I planted this tree. I planted it when it was when the tree was about this big. At the bottom down here that you can't see, it's probably about 22, 23 inches thick. Comes up and it sprouts into 4 nice size trees, even though it's one tree. And I love the tree here. It's just a beautiful shady area, and I'm going to be putting a sitting area. I have 2 of them actually. There's one behind the camera as well. And this is my lake here on the farm. And there's always dead limbs on trees that we're constantly grooming off and using to build some brush fires. And sometimes we use the small limbs for kindling when we're building a fire, because they're good and dry. They break easy and they make a good fire because they're dry. But a lot of people use this bark for artwork. You might even see it where people have done some picture frames or mirror frames, and they will peel the bark off of a birch tree like this, a river birch, and then they will attach it around the frame. And this tree right here has such a beautiful look about it. I don't think I want to peel the bark off. I'll let nature do its course, but I want to keep it as beautiful as it possibly can be. But I want to make a point here. The point is this. I was standing here under this tree yesterday with my first child, my oldest daughter. And I was telling her about, it's amazing how these trees have grown. Of course, they have plenty of water, perfect climate for them. It's amazing. It's just a gorgeous, gorgeous plant that's grown up to be a massive shade tree. But I planted it about 21 years ago. And I told her I'd like to plant some more down through here. And then I told her, I said, in 21 years, I could have quite a few of these down the side of the lake. And it'd be very beautiful. I said, but at the same time, the same thought went through my mind. In 20 years, I'll be in my 80s. And I said to myself, not out loud, but to myself, if you're wondering what that sound is, that's my Labrador playing in the water. He's having fun in the water. But the thought went through my mind that not everything we do is for us. Sometimes it's for others. And sometimes the things that we do for others are the most rewarding plans that we can participate in, that we do ourselves. Are you wanting one of these limbs? You want to grab one of these limbs and take off? Here. You can have this limb. Here. There you go. I might live to be 100, and if I do, I would be able to enjoy those trees. If I planted them today, I'll be able to enjoy these trees for many years to come. If I live to be as old as my mother was when she passed away, I have 19 years left. And or as long as my father, I'd have 9 years left. And but I hope that I live a much longer life than they did. But you know, we have no promise of tomorrow. But the one thing we should always take in consideration, even the Bible says this, it says, occupy till he comes. Do everything you possibly can until Jesus comes. And I challenge you to start doing some things now in your planning. You see, sometimes we only focus on what we need to do right now to take care of tomorrow or next week or next month. But I also want to challenge you to do things in your life that you know you will not see the benefits of for maybe 10 years from now, or maybe even 15 or 21 years from now. You might see something that says, wow, I started this 21 years ago, just like I planted this tree. Okay, I had to move my camera because my trusty pup decided to knock my camera down. So anyway, what I was saying is, I want to challenge you. I want to challenge you to not only focus on what you can do to make your life better or to plan for what's happening tomorrow or next week or next month. I want you to also plan on what you can do to make your life better or your children's life better. Things that you can do that's not going to necessarily benefit you tomorrow. Maybe it's going to take 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, 30 years down the road before it ever gets to that point where it benefits someone. My father and I planted a tree years ago. It was a magnolia tree, southern magnolia. When we planted that southern magnolia, it was about this tall. Now it's about 40 foot tall, and it sits in the middle of a beautiful farm down in Georgia, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. It's just beautiful. I never will forget being with my father when we planted that tree. I was a teenager, probably was a young teenager at the time. And here I am. My grandkids are the age of what I was when I was planting that tree with my father. My father is no longer around. He's been gone for a couple of decades, but the part I'm getting across to you here is, why not make some of your goals not only about you, but also about others, about the people that you love, the people that you care about, the people in your family. You see, one of these days, I'm going to be gone. I'm not going to be around, but I'm going to do a lot of things between now and then so that my children are taken care of. My children are able to gain something when I'm gone. Now, granted, there is a lot of people probably listening to me right now that you're saying, I wish my parents had done that and prepared and planned to help me or to leave something to me when they passed away. I know that's probably what's going through some of your minds, but it doesn't mean that you can't do it, whether your parents did it or not. Sometimes we do live by example. Sometimes we live by the examples that were set for us. But we don't always have to. We can set a different example for the next generation. And if we build on that, and then they build onto it, and then the next generation builds onto it, and it keeps going, imagine what the generations ahead in your family are going to have as assets and blessings to enjoy that might not have ever happened unless you developed and started that process. Someone has to begin the process. Now, when we grew up on a farm, a family farm, My grandparents owned quite a bit of land, and between them, they split that land up among their kids and family and what have you, and many of those in that family, in my father's family, some of them still have their portions of the land. Some of them do not. My parents are a good example of when people go through a divorce and things happen, land gets sold to other people outside the family, that gets gone, and before you know it, when people pass away, there's nothing to hand down or to pass on to the next generation. I was very fortunate when I was very young adult, that my mother and father gave both me and my brothers all a portion of land to get started when we were first moving out on our own and building us a new home and what have you. And that was a blessing. Not everyone has that. I remember how much of a blessing that was. It wasn't a large tract of land, but it was a very decent sized tract of land compared to some acreage today. It was maybe about 7 acres or something like that that we had gotten. And I was very appreciative of that. But, you know, as I was a young adult moving, that gave us a step up in life. We didn't stay there and we didn't keep building onto that land, which in some ways, maybe that was not a smart thing to do, but maybe in some ways that was okay to do. Because over time, you know, even though that sold, we sold it, and then we bought other things, and we kept selling and buying other things and what have you. And over time, that either increases or it goes away. Consequently, I've spent a third of my life developing this property that you see here, and it's gorgeous. This is absolutely my dream here, to be here, and I'm here. And you know, the beautiful thing about it is all my kids want to be here. You know, they talk about coming up here to see me, and they come up to see me, and we spend time together. They have a chance to play and swim in the lake and ride their ATVs and motorcycles, or hike or walk or play with the dogs or the chickens or whatever they want to do. It's amazing what we can do here as a family. On the other side of that is, I want to prepare them to keep that going, to keep that moving forward, to preserve that. And the way that we have done that in our family is the concept of a trust. And you can do things your way, we'll do things our way, but that's the way we have chosen to do what we do. And because of that's a positive move financially, economically. It's very good decision. It's a very good decision to, if you have certain assets, to put them in a trust so that they're protected. And another thing that my goal was in regards to this piece of property, which it's all the way from the bottom here. We're in the valley, and the valley goes way up through here behind me, behind the camera. There's a big field up through there. It's about the size of 2 or 3 football fields. And then there's pastures back behind the camera. And there's a mountain up to the top of the mountain. It's all part of the homestead here. And there's plenty of places for the kids, even the grandkids, if they want a home here. But the one rule and prerequisite that we have here on the property is no debt, 0 debt, debt-free, everything that we do here. By keeping everything debt-free, that reduces risk. You know, it also takes everything to the point where we're able to enjoy the landscape and enjoy the homestead without the pressure of the debt on it and a constant concern or worry about, is it going to stay in the family? Is something going to cause it to be lost, or something going to cause it to go away from the hands of the family? And so we've protected that. Now, I'm not here to give you advice. I'm not here to try to tell you what you should do or what you shouldn't do. But one of the things that we want to get across to you from our videos here is to do everything possible to secure your future and to add security to your family. And part of that security for your family is property. I'm not a real estate agent. I'm not a real estate broker. I don't sell real estate. I'm not here marketing a business in regards to real estate. So I'm just giving you my opinion and my advice in regards to that. But yes, I would say, even if it's a small piece of land, it could be an acre, it could be 2 acres, 5 acres. That is great. At least get some acreage. Let that be one of your goals, even as a younger person in life. I've heard people say, when you're young, live it up. You won't be young but once. One of the worst pieces of advice that people hear today is that. If I could give you advice when you're young and you're vibrant and you have plenty of energy, work hard, hard, hard. Do everything you possibly can to make money when you're as young as you possibly can be. So then that you can invest, or that you can buy things that's going to last, like dirt, like land. I look at this way. I'm standing on my dirt, and my dirt goes all the way to the center of the earth. That's the way I look at it. It's not just the surface. I've got it all the way down to the center core of the earth. And this is another thing too. Population's always increasing, but they don't make any more of this land. This earth is what it is. Grab it as quick as you can, get you some property, and also secure your family with not just acreage, but also plan to have your own food. Even if it's not all your food, if it's just a portion of your food, grow your own food, whether it's just one vegetable. Maybe it's just tomatoes, or maybe it's just cucumbers, or maybe it's cucumbers and tomatoes and onions. But grow some of your own food. You can move into it slowly, or you can grow all your own food and have animals and vegetables and fruit and berries, everything that you want to provide everything possible for your family. But at least grow some things. Feel that connection to your sustenance and your livelihood with the property, and it's going to change you. It's going to do something special to you. Sometimes when I'm here and it's spring right now, we see the buds coming out on the trees, the small leaves popping out, the flowers of the dogwood are blooming, and we see so much life coming into play right now in the early spring. But one of the beautiful things about the property here is we have wild berries, we have wild blueberries, we have wild huckleberries, we have wild blackberries, we have wild wine berries, we have wild strawberries. And as the seasons go by, I know when those berries are going to ripen, and I enjoy those wild berries, and I'm eating of nature, and I'm bringing it into my body. That is a healthy way to attach myself to this property. I'm bonded to this piece of land, and I have a good feeling here, and you will too. When you find you a piece of land that you know that you can hold on to, and that you've made a decision in your life, you say, I bought this. I bought this that's not going to sell, no matter how much someone offers me for this piece of property. I'm going to keep it in the family, and we're going to develop something here that's going to be enjoyable for everyone for generations to come. When you make that type of a decision, you will not let anything get in your way of making those payments or keeping it up or making sure that you protect it. That way you don't ever lose it. You've got it in your family for many generations to come. Make that decision. Even if you invest in multiple pieces of property, maybe some of it's investments where you're going to be flipping property, whatever it may be. Make sure you have at least one piece of property that you make the decision that I am not going to lose this piece of property. I'm going to keep it. I don't care what happens. Even if I have to live in a tent, I'm not going to lose this piece of property. Make that decision. And when you do, you're going to see something phenomenal happen emotionally into your finances. A bond that takes place that causes you to make decisions that are good in so many ways, because that pattern will enter into other areas in your life, and it'll fold in, it'll overlap into other portions of your life, so that you make better decisions in everything else that you're doing financially and being responsible as an adult. And you don't have to wait too long in life to get started. I bought my first piece of property before I ever graduated from high school. Make a decision though, regardless how young or how old you are. Just like I was talking about the tree. If I plant a tree today, it may be 20 years from now that it creates a good shade tree. It may be 30 years from now before it creates a good shade tree. It may not be in time for me to enjoy it. So make your goals not only around you, but around the people that you love, that you want to leave something to as well. Hope this helps. This is a little bit of advice and a little bit of wisdom coming to you from Jeff Welch. I'm Jeff Welch at Welch Family Homestead. And if this is your first time you've watched any of my videos, thank you for joining us here on my YouTube channel. And I appreciate that. And I hope that you subscribe. God bless you. And I look forward to talking to you the next time. God bless.